The restaurant was too bright for what was about to happen. I should have known something was wrong when Marcus suggested we meet at Bistro Laurent instead of our usual Thursday night takeout on the couch. The white tablecloths gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and somewhere a piano tinkled out jazz standards that made my teeth ache. I was running late from my shift, still had antiseptic smell clinging to my scrubs under the dress I'd changed into in the hospital bathroom. Marcus was already seated, studying his phone with the intensity he usually reserved for quarterly reports. His scotch sat untouched, condensation pooling around the base. Sorry, I said, sliding into my chair. Mrs. Peterson in room 12 had a panic attack right at shift change and… Sarah. The way he said my name made my hands freeze halfway to the napkin. We need to discuss something. My mind raced through possibilities. Was he sick? Had someone died? Then I saw it. The way he wouldn't meet my eyes, the careful distance he'd placed between his hands and mine on the table. The wedding, he said, and my heart plummeted. I've been thinking about our trajectories, where we're headed professionally, personally. Marcus, what are you talking about? The venue's booked. My dress is being altered. We just sent the invitations. I know. He finally looked at me, and his expression was so composed it made me want to scream, which is why I needed to tell you now. I can't go through with it. The restaurant sounds faded to white noise. A waiter hovered nearby, wisely retreating when he saw my face. You're calling off our wedding 3 weeks before? I've been offered a position at Chen Industries, Vice President of Strategic Development. He said it like that explained everything. Victoria Chen and I have been working closely on the transition. She understands the demands of that world in ways that I don't. My voice came out strangled. Because I save lives instead of destroying companies? He winced but pushed forward. This is what's best for both of us. You'll see that eventually. I stared at the man I'd shared 3 years with, who'd proposed on my birthday with my grandmother's ring, who'd promised we were building something real. Now he sat there in his $3,000 suit, breaking us apart like a business deal gone sour. Keep the apartment, he said, reaching for his wallet. I've already made arrangements. Made arrangements? I laughed, sharp and bitter. How efficient of you. I stood before he could pull out his credit card, before I could do something I'd regret like throw his untouched scotch in his perfectly groomed face. My legs felt disconnected from my body as I walked past the other diners enjoying their normal, unshattered evenings. The parking garage air hit me like a slap. I made it to my car before the tears came, hot and furious and mixed with something that might have been relief if it didn't hurt so much. When I got to our apartment, my apartment now, apparently, I found he'd been there. My things were separated from his with surgical precision. My books pulled from between his on the shelves, my photos removed from the walls, leaving ghost rectangles on the paint. Even my coffee mug had been moved from his side of the cabinet to mine. The efficiency of it broke something in me. Had he been planning this while we tasted wedding cakes, while I showed him honeymoon destinations? I sat on the floor of what used to be our bedroom, surrounded by the evidence of my extracted life, and called the one person who'd never asked me to be anything but myself. Ruth? My voice cracked on her name. Sarah, honey, what's wrong? Can I come home? There was no hesitation. I'll put fresh sheets on your bed. Ruth's townhouse smelled exactly the same. Lavender detergent and the vanilla candles she bought in bulk from Costco. The spare room hadn't changed either. Same quilt she'd made when I first came to live with her at 16. Same desk where I'd studied for my nursing boards. Same view of her tiny backyard garden. Tea? She asked from the doorway, though she was already holding 2 mugs. Thanks. I took the chamomile gratefully, letting the warmth seep into my hands. She sat on the edge of the bed, studying me with those sharp brown eyes that had seen through every teenage lie I'd ever attempted. Want to talk about it? Not really. I sipped the tea. Maybe tomorrow. Fair enough. She squeezed my shoulder. You know where everything is. Stay as long as you need. I lasted exactly 4 days before the walls started closing in. 4 days of calling in sick, of ignoring texts from coworkers asking about wedding prep, of staring at my phone every time it buzzed, hoping it was Marcus saying he'd made a mistake. it never was. On day 5, I showered, put on my scrubs, and drove to St. Mary's like nothing had changed. My unit manager, Carla, took one look at me and knew something was wrong, but she had the grace not to ask. I threw myself into rounds, medications, charts, anything to avoid thinking. Heard about Marcus, Dana said during our lunch break, sliding her tray next to mine in the cafeteria. Jackie from cardio saw him at some charity thing with Victoria Chen. I'm sorry, Sarah. I stabbed at my salad. It's fine. It's not, and you know it. She leaned closer. But actually, this timing might be perfect. You know my cousin who does private nursing? She just bailed on this placement. Said the guy was impossible, but the pay is insane. I'm not looking to $15,000 a month. I nearly choked on my lettuce. That's not real. It is, live-in position, room and board included. One patient, some tech guy who got injured, needs round-the-clock care. Dana pulled out her phone. She lasted 8 days before he drove her off. But you've got thick skin. I thought about my empty bank account, the wedding deposits I'd never get back, the apartment I couldn't afford alone. What's wrong with him? Lily said he's brilliant but mean, demanding, goes through nurses like tissues. Dana found what she was looking for and showed me her screen. But for that money, I'd put up with a lot. The number made my decision for me. Even 3 months at that salary would give me enough to start over properly. Find my own place, maybe take that trauma certification course I'd been putting off. Send me the contact info, I heard myself say. Dana grinned. That's my girl. Show that Marcus what he walked away from. That night, I sat in Ruth's kitchen and dialed the number Dana had sent. My hands shook slightly as it rang. Cross Residence, came a crisp voice. Evelyn Cross speaking. Ms. Cross, my name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm calling about the nursing position. A pause. I see, and you heard about this position from... Lily Huang gave Dana, my colleague, your information. Ah, yes, Ms. Huang. Her tone suggested Lily had not left on the best terms. Are you currently employed? Yes, at St. Mary's Hospital, 5 years of med-surg and ICU experience. Can you be here tomorrow at 10 a.m. for an interview? I gripped the phone tighter. Yes. Good, I'll text you the address. Bring your credentials and references. Don't be late, Ms. Mitchell. Mr. Vale despises tardiness. The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at my phone, wondering what exactly I'd just agreed to. The GPS led me through increasingly winding roads, each turn taking me higher into the hills above the city. Morning fog clung to the mansions that dotted the landscape, each one more imposing than the last. When I finally reached the address, I had to double-check my phone. The Vale Estate wasn't just a house, it was a statement. Modern architecture carved into the hillside, all clean lines and floor-to-ceiling glass that caught the morning sun like a prism. The driveway alone was longer than Ruth's entire street. I parked my 10-year-old Honda between a Mercedes and a Tesla, feeling like I'd brought a butter knife to a gunfight. My best interview outfit, a navy blazer and slacks I'd worn to my last hospital review, suddenly seemed shabby. The front door opened before I could knock. Evelyn Cross stood there like she'd been carved from marble, silver hair in a French twist, charcoal suit without a wrinkle, posture that would make a drill sergeant weep with joy. Ms. Mitchell, you're 7 minutes early. It wasn't a compliment or criticism, just a fact. Follow me. Her heels clicked against polished concrete floors as she led me through a home that felt more like a museum. Abstract art lined the walls, sculptures posed in alcoves, and everything was white, black, or steel gray. Even the plants looked architectural. The office she brought me to was warmer. Dark wood desk, leather chairs, bookshelves filled with actual books instead of decorative objects. She gestured for me to sit and opened a folder that I assumed contained my life story. Your references are impeccable, she began without preamble. Your supervisor calls you unflappable. Your colleagues describe you as competent and calm under pressure. Why are you leaving hospital work? I'd rehearsed this answer. I'm looking for a new challenge. One-on-one patient care appeals to me. Her lips thinned. Ms. Mitchell, if you lie to me now, this interview is over. I've already run a background check. I know about your recent change in circumstances. Heat flooded my face. Of course she knew. My personal situation has changed, yes, but that doesn't affect my ability to provide excellent care. Actually, it might be an asset. She leaned back slightly. Mr. Vale is not an easy patient. He's brilliant, demanding, and has no patience for emotional volatility. Someone going through their own difficulties might be less likely to take his moods personally. His moods? Mr. Vale was in an accident 4 months ago, spinal injury. He's wheelchair-bound, though the doctors say with proper therapy, partial recovery is possible. He disagrees. She paused. Violently, at times. Has he been violent with staff? Not physically, but he has a gift for finding exactly what will hurt most and wielding it like a scalpel. 3 nurses have left in tears. 1 filed a formal complaint, though she withdrew it when she couldn't specify what exactly he'd done wrong, besides be psychologically destructive. I thought of all the difficult patients I'd handled, the ones who lashed out from pain, fear, frustration. I've worked with challenging patients before. Not like this. She studied me over her glasses. Mr. Vale built his company from nothing. He was on magazine covers at 28. Now he's 32 and believes his life is over. He doesn't want to get better, Ms. Mitchell. He wants to be left alone to rot in peace. Then why hire a nurse? Insurance requirements, and because I've worked for the Vale family for 15 years. I won't watch him destroy himself, even if he fires me for it. She closed the folder. The position pays $15,000 per month. You'll have a private suite on the 2nd floor, meals provided, 2 days off per month, though you can negotiate those based on Mr. Vale's needs, complete medical benefits, a performance bonus if you last 6 months. When you meet him, you'll understand. She stood. Your credentials are excellent. Your recent life changes actually make you more suitable. You won't be running home to anyone. The position is yours if you want it. Don't I need to meet Mr. Vale first? Nope. He's refused to interview any more candidates. His exact words were, just send whoever you think will last longest. She pulled out a contract. I think that's you. Prove me right. I looked at the contract, at the salary that would change everything, at this cold, beautiful house that might become my refuge, or my prison. When would I start? Tomorrow, if you accept. I'll give you an hour to review the contract and a tour of the staff areas. Mr. Vale takes his breakfast at 9 sharp. Don't be late. She left me alone with the papers. I sat in that pristine office, listening to the silence of the house, and wondered if I was trading one kind of heartbreak for another. But the truth was, I had nowhere else to go and nothing left to lose. I signed on every dotted line. I arrived at 8:30 the next morning, my car packed with everything I owned that mattered. Evelyn met me at the door, approved my appearance with a curt nod, and led me to my quarters, a suite nicer than any apartment I'd ever rented, with its own bathroom and a view of the hills. Unpack later, she said. Mr. Vale will be finishing his morning routine. I'll introduce you in the main suite. The main suite occupied the entire north wing of the 2nd floor. Double doors opened to reveal a space that was part bedroom, part medical facility, part CEO's office. Monitors and medical equipment lined one wall, while the opposite held screens displaying what looked like stock markets and code. Nathan Vale sat with his back to us, wheelchair positioned at a massive desk, typing with sharp, aggressive keystrokes. He wore a black t-shirt that showed lean muscle despite months of limited mobility. Dark hair, precisely cut. Everything about his posture radiated barely contained fury. Mr. Vale, Evelyn announced, your new nurse has arrived. The sacrifice has a name? His voice was low, cultured, with an edge like broken glass. Sarah Mitchell, I said, stepping forward. He spun the chair with practiced precision, and I got my first look at Nathan Vale. Magazine covers hadn't done him justice. Sharp cheekbones, storm gray eyes, a mouth that might have been sensual if it wasn't twisted in disdain. handsome in the way a blade is beautiful, all dangerous edges. His gaze swept over me like a scanner, cataloging and dismissing in one motion. St. Mary's, 5 years. Engaged recently, no, that's over. Hair still has the indent from where you wore a ring, staying somewhere temporary based on the wrinkles in that blazer. Let me guess, caught him cheating? I kept my face neutral despite the direct hit. My personal life isn't relevant to my ability to care for you. Everything is relevant. He turned back to his screens. Evelyn will show you the medication schedule. Don't speak to me unless medically necessary. Don't touch my equipment. Don't rearrange anything. Don't pretend we're going to be friends. I'm not here to be your friend. That made him pause. He glanced back at me. No. What are you here for then, Sarah Mitchell? To do my job, monitor your health, administer medications, assist with physical therapy. I don't do physical therapy. Your care plan says, my care plan is whatever I decide it is. His voice dropped dangerously. The last nurse who pushed therapy ended up crying in the driveway at 2 a.m. Would you like to know what I said to her? No. Another pause. His eyes narrowed. No? I don't care what you said to her. I care about your blood pressure, your medication adherence, and preventing muscle atrophy. How you feel about that is your business. Evelyn made a small sound that might have been approval or warning. Nathan studied me for a long moment. You think you're different, tougher. They all do at first. I think I'm here to do a job. Whether you make that easy or hard is up to you. Hard then. He smiled, and it was all teeth. Definitely hard. The first week was a test of endurance. Nathan deployed his intelligence like a weapon, finding weak spots with surgical precision. He commented on my failed engagement when I checked his vitals, made cutting observations about my background, my choices, my appearance. He refused medications just to see if I'd force them, then took them just when I'd decided not to fight. You were in foster care, he announced one morning while I prepared his noon medications. Multiple placements based on your hypervigilance around authority figures, but someone finally kept you. Late teens probably. You call them sometimes when you think I'm asleep. I kept my hands steady as I filled the medication cup. Your pills, Mr. Vale. Touched a nerve? Good. Maybe you'll quit before lunch and save us both time. Sorry to disappoint. I set the pills and water on his desk. I need the money too badly to let you scare me off. Honest, how refreshing. He took the pills, still watching me. Though if it's just about money, there are easier ways for someone with your looks to... Finish that sentence and I'll assume the head injury from your accident was worse than documented. His mouth snapped shut. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. Short and sharp, but genuine. Fair enough, Mitchell. Fair enough. After that, the test became less vicious, more probing. He still pushed, still needed, but something had shifted. He took his medications without battle, let me check his vitals without commentary. Even allowed me to do basic range of motion exercises, though he complained the entire time. Why nursing? He asked one evening as I documented his progress. Why tech? I countered. I asked first. I considered ignoring him, but we'd found a rhythm in these small exchanges. I wanted to help people, fix things, make something better. Past tense? Present tense on bad days, past tense on good ones. He was quiet for a moment. Which is today? I looked at him, this brilliant, broken man who'd built an empire and now couldn't walk to his own bathroom without help, who lashed out because it was easier than hoping. Ask me tomorrow, I said. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe, or recognition. Same question for you tomorrow then, Mitchell. Same answer, probably. We'll see. That night, I heard him on a conference call, his voice commanding despite everything. Running his empire from a wheelchair, refusing to let go even as his body betrayed him. I understood that feeling, the need to control something when everything else was chaos. Maybe Evelyn was right. Maybe we were both too broken to hurt each other the way whole people could. Maybe that was exactly what we both needed. 3 weeks into the job, I couldn't sleep. The Santa Ana winds were howling outside, rattling the windows and making the whole house creak like a ship at sea. I'd given up on rest and decided to check the supply closet. We were running low on several medications, and I wanted to put the order in early. The house felt different at night. Moonlight streamed through the massive windows, turning everything silver and strange. I padded barefoot down the hallway, past Nathan's suite, toward the medical supply room. That's when I heard it. A crash, followed by a string of curses that would make a sailor blush. I froze. The sound had come from the private gym on the first floor, the one Nathan claimed he never used. Waste of space, he'd called it, should convert it to a server room. Another crash, then a sound that made my blood run cold, a cry of pain, quickly stifled. I ran. The gym door was cracked open, spilling light into the dark hallway. I pushed through and stopped dead. Nathan was on the parallel bars, arms trembling with effort, sweat soaking through his shirt. His legs were supporting weight, not much, but some. His face was twisted in concentration and agony, and he was standing. He was standing. His right leg buckled. He caught himself on the bars, muscles straining, and that's when he saw me. His expression cycled through shock, fury, and something that looked like fear before settling on rage. "Get out." His voice was raw. "Get out now." "Nathan," I said, "get out." I didn't move, couldn't. He was standing, had been practicing, pushing himself in secret while telling everyone recovery was impossible. "How long?" I asked quietly. He laughed, bitter and breathless. "How long what? How long have I been torturing myself with false hope? How long before I accept reality and stop this charade? How long have you been hiding this?" His arms shook. Slowly, controlled, he lowered himself back into the chair. I now noticed positioned strategically behind him. Everything had been planned. The bars at perfect height, the chair placement, padding on the floor in case of falls. 6 weeks, he finally said, not looking at me. Started feeling sensation 8 weeks after the accident. Doctors said it was promising. I told them they were wrong. Why? Because he grabbed a towel, wiped his face with sharp, angry movements. Because hope is cruel, Mitchell. Because I've seen the statistics. Incomplete injury, they said. Potential for partial recovery. Do you know what partial means? It means maybe I walk with a cane. Maybe I manage 10 steps before collapsing. Maybe I fool myself into thinking I'm getting better until I plateau and realize this, he gestured at the bars, is as good as it gets. So you've been what? Secretly trying while telling everyone you've given up? It's easier. His voice was flat. When I fail, and I will fail, no one will be disappointed. No one will have wasted their time believing in something that was never going to happen. I stepped closer. He tensed. Don't, he warned. Don't what? Tell you you're an idiot? Too late. I moved until I was standing directly in front of him. You're making progress. Real, actual progress. And instead of letting anyone help, you're doing this alone, at night, risking further injury because you're too proud to admit you want to get better. I don't want... Lie to everyone else, Nathan, not to me. I've seen you at 3 a.m. reviewing surgical techniques for spinal cord repair. I've seen the bookmarks on your tablet for experimental treatments. I know you've been doing the exercises I showed you when you think I'm not watching. His jaw clenched. So what? What do you want me to say? That I'm terrified of trying and failing? That I wake up every night dreaming I can walk, only to remember I can't? That I... He cut himself off, hands fisting in the towel. I want you to let me help. He looked up at me then, really looked at me. In the harsh gym lighting, with his defenses down and exhaustion written across his features, he looked younger, vulnerable. Why? The word came out cracked. Why do you care? I thought about lying, making it about the job or professional duty, but he'd see through that. Because I know what it's like to lose everything and pretend it doesn't matter. Because watching you punish yourself for wanting to heal is like watching someone drown in shallow water. Because, I swallowed, because you're not the only one who's afraid of hoping. Silence stretched between us. The wind howled outside. Finally, Nathan spoke. If we do this, if it stays between us, No reports to Evelyn, no optimistic progress notes. No one knows. Agreed. And if I say stop, we stop. No pushing, no motivational speeches, no... Nathan, I interrupted. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to help you fix yourself. There's a difference. He studied me for a long moment, then so quietly I almost missed it. Okay. Okay? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, after 11, when the house is asleep, you help me with exercises, proper form, make sure I don't do something stupid. In exchange, he paused. In exchange, I'll stop being an ass about your actual job. Deal. I held out my hand. He looked at it like it might bite, then slowly reached out and shook. His grip was firm, calluses from the bars rough against my palm. Mitchell, he said as I turned to go, if you tell anyone about this, you'll fire me, ruin my career, and make sure I never work in healthcare again. I know. I glanced back at him. Good thing I'm excellent at keeping secrets. I left him there, surrounded by equipment and possibility. As I climbed the stairs back to my room, I realized my hands were shaking. Not from fear or anxiety, but from something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. It was terrifying. Our secret sessions had been going for 2 weeks when everything started to unravel. Nathan was making progress, real, measurable progress that he documented obsessively in a notebook he thought I didn't know about. 10 steps became 15. 15 became 20. The hope in his eyes was carefully hidden but unmistakable. I should have known it was too good to last. Derek Morrison arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, breezing into the house like he owned it. I was in the kitchen preparing Nathan's afternoon medications when I heard the voice, smooth, confident, the kind of tone that sold snake oil to hospitals. Nate, Jesus, you look terrible. They feeding you enough? I peered around the corner. Derek was tall, early 40s, with that artificial tan that screamed weekend yacht trips. His suit probably cost more than my car. Derek. Nathan's voice was carefully neutral. Wasn't expecting you. Been trying to reach you for weeks. Your guard dog Evelyn keeps stonewalling me. Derek helped himself to scotch from the bar. We need to talk about the Singapore deal. I retreated to the kitchen but kept my ears open. Something about Derek set off every alarm in my head. The Singapore deal is dead, Nathan said flatly. I told you that last month. No, you told me you were thinking about it. Different thing entirely. Ice clinked in Derek's glass. Listen, I know the accident set things back, but Chen Industries is still interested. In fact, Victoria's father is more interested now. My hand froze on the medication bottle. Chen, Victoria Chen. Not interested, Nathan repeated. You haven't heard the new terms. They're willing to buy out your controlling share for... I said no. Derek's tone shifted, became coaxing. Nate, buddy, be realistic. You're not coming back to the office. The board's getting nervous. Shareholders are asking questions. Someone needs to lead, and if you can't... I'm still CEO. In name, but for how long? How long before they force a competency hearing? How long before someone suggests you're not mentally capable of... Get out. Nathan's voice was deadly quiet. I'm trying to help you. Cash out now while you still can. Take the money, focus on recovery, whatever makes you happy. Let Chen Industries handle the heavy lifting. There was a long pause. When Nathan spoke again, his voice was different, calculating. And your finder's fee for brokering this deal? Derek laughed. Just looking out for an old friend. Right, leave the paperwork. I'll review it. That's my boy. You'll see, this is the best option. For everyone. I heard footsteps approaching and busied myself with the medication tray. Derek appeared in the kitchen doorway, predatory smile widening when he saw me. Well, hello, you must be the new nurse. His eyes traveled down my body and back up. Definite upgrade from the last one. Mr. Morrison? I said coolly. Derek, please, we're all friends here. He moved closer. How's our patient doing? Medically speaking? That's confidential. Of course. Just concerned about my business partner. He leaned against the counter, too close. Must be lonely, though. Young woman like you, stuck in this house all day. If you ever need a break, some company. She's working. Nathan's voice cut through the kitchen. He'd wheeled himself to the doorway, eyes fixed on Derek with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure, cold fury. Derek straightened, hands up in mock surrender. Just being friendly, I'll see myself out. Think about the offer, Nate. Clock's ticking. After he left, Nathan was silent for a long moment. Then, pack your things. My stomach dropped. What? Not. He ran a hand through his hair. Not to leave, pack for a few days. Move them to the suite next to mine, the one with the connecting door. Nathan, what's going on? Derek Morrison doesn't make social calls, and he definitely doesn't flirt with staff unless he's planning something. He looked at me. How much did you hear? All of it. Then you know Chen Industries wants my company. What you don't know is that Derek's been slowly positioning himself to force a sale. He's got board members in his pocket, shareholders convinced I'm a liability. His hands clenched on the armrests. I built that company from nothing, and now that I'm in this chair, they think they can just take it. The Chens, I said slowly. Victoria Chen, she's dating your ex. I know. At my shocked look, he almost smiled. I had Evelyn run a complete background check when I hired you. Thought it was an interesting coincidence. You knew? I know everything that happens in my house, Mitchell. Question is, what do we do about it? I thought about Marcus, about how easily he'd discarded me for a better opportunity, about Victoria Chen and her father's money, about Derek's oily smile and wandering eyes. We protect what's yours, I said, and we make them regret trying to take it. Nathan studied me for a long moment. You sure you want to get involved in this? It could get ugly. I'm already involved. Derek made sure of that when he looked at me like I was part of the acquisition package. I met his gaze. Besides, I'm tired of people like them thinking they can just take whatever they want. All right then. Nathan's smile was sharp as a blade. Let's see what Derek's really planning. There's a laptop in my desk, second drawer. Bring it to my suite tonight after our session. If they want a war, we'll give them one. Should we tell Evelyn? Not yet. I don't know how deep this goes, who Derek might have compromised. For now, it's just us. He paused. Can I trust you, Sarah? It was the first time he'd used my first name. Yes, I said simply. Good, because things are about to get complicated. That night, after helping Nathan through his exercises, we sat in his suite with the laptop between us. He pulled up file after file, emails, contracts, board meeting minutes. The picture that emerged was damning. Derek had been laying groundwork for months, maybe longer, planting seeds of doubt about Nathan's competency, suggesting the company needed stable leadership, all while negotiating with Chen Industries behind the scenes. He's been planning this since your accident, I said, sickened. Before that, probably, just waiting for an opportunity. Nathan's voice was grimly amused. He always was a patient bastard. What do? We document everything, build a case, and then, his expression was fierce, then I remind them why they feared me in the boardroom, wheelchair or not. I looked at him, angry, determined, more alive than I'd seen him since I arrived. They won't know what hit them. No, he agreed. They won't. We worked in stolen hours, transforming Nathan's suite into a war room. Every night after his exercises, we'd spread documents across his massive desk like battle plans. Financial records, email chains, board communications, each piece adding to the damning picture of Derek's betrayal. Here, I said, pointing to a transaction record I'd highlighted. 3 weeks after your accident, Derek transferred $2 million from the Emergency Operations Fund to a consulting firm called Meridian Solutions. Nathan pulled up another screen. Meridian Solutions doesn't exist. It's a shell company registered in Delaware. Want to guess who owns it? Chen Industries? Close. Victoria Chen personally. His fingers flew across the keyboard. She's been funneling money to key board members through this shell. Look at the dates. Every payment corresponds with a board vote that went Derek's way. I felt sick. He's buying your company with your own money. Poetic, isn't it? Nathan's voice was dangerously calm. use my funds to bribe my board to force me out of my position, all while playing the concerned friend. Can we prove it? We're going to do better than prove it. He pulled up a calendar. There's an emergency board meeting in 10 days. Derek's planning to call for a vote of no confidence, citing my inability to fulfill duties as CEO. He needs a 2/3 majority to force me out. Does he have it? He thinks he does. Nathan's smile was sharp. But Derek's made a critical error. He assumes I'm the same man who needed a wheelchair. He's forgotten what I'm capable of. Over the next week, Nathan was transformed. The bitter resignation I'd grown accustomed to burned away, replaced by focused intensity. He pushed harder in our physical therapy sessions, stayed up later reviewing documents, took calls with lawyers and forensic accountants who owed him favors. "You need to sleep," I told him one night at 3 a.m., finding him still at his desk. Sleep is for people who aren't about to lose everything. But he let me wheel him to bed, accepted the medication that would force him to rest. "You're not going to lose," I said quietly. He caught my hand as I turned to go. "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've seen you stand when doctors said you'd never walk again. Because you built an empire from nothing. Because—" I squeezed his hand. "Because Derek Morrison is a parasite, and parasites don't win against predators." "Is that what I am? A predator?" "You're a survivor," I corrected. "There's a difference." 3 days before the board meeting, Evelyn knocked on my door at dawn. "Mr. Vale wants to see you. Bring coffee." I found Nathan already dressed in clothes I hadn't seen before, a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that emphasized his broad shoulders, crisp white shirt, silver tie. He looked like power incarnate. "Today, we make our move," he said. "I need you to do something for me." "Anything. Go to my office, the real one, at Vale Technologies. Security knows you're coming. In my desk, bottom drawer, there's a black flash drive. Bring it back." "What's on it?" "Insurance." He adjusted his tie. "And Sarah?" "Wear something nice. You're coming to the board meeting." "I'm not a board member." "No, but you're my medical advisor, and I want Derek to see exactly who helped bring him down." The Vale Technologies building was a glass tower in the financial district, all sharp edges and reflected sky. Security waved me through with barely a glance. Nathan's office occupied the entire top floor, a space that screamed success with its panoramic views and minimalist design. I found the flash drive where he'd said it would be, along with something else, a framed photo tucked in the back of the drawer. Nathan standing, laughing at something off camera. No trace of the bitter man I'd first met. "Ms. Mitchell?" I spun to find a woman in the doorway, mid-50s, sharp eyes behind designer glasses. "I'm Patricia, Mr. Vale's executive assistant. He asked me to give you this." She handed me a garment bag for the board meeting. Inside was a dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Deep blue, elegant, the kind of thing that said, "I belong here," without shouting it. "Thank him for me," I managed. Patricia smiled. "Thank yourself. You're the first person in months to remind him who he really is." The day of the board meeting dawned gray and drizzling. Nathan had barely slept, running through scenarios, practicing his presentation. But when I came to help him prepare, I stopped short. He was standing, not just standing, he was using a cane, weight distributed carefully, but definitely on his own feet. "You've been practicing without me," I accused. "Had to be ready." He straightened his tie. "How do I look?" "Like you're about to destroy someone," I thought. "Like a CEO," I said. "Good. Help me with this?" I adjusted his collar, smoothed his jacket. This close, I could see the tension in his jaw, the careful control holding him upright. "You don't have to stand for this. The wheelchair doesn't make you less." "I know." He caught my hands. "But Derek needs to see. They all need to see. I'm not broken, I'm not finished, and I'm definitely not giving up my company to vultures." "Then let's go remind them who Nathan Vale really is." We took the private elevator to the conference floor. Nathan leaned heavily on the cane, each step measured, but his face showed nothing but calm determination. I walked beside him, the flash drive burning in my pocket. The boardroom doors loomed ahead. Beyond them, I could hear voices, Derek's smooth tones, the murmur of board members, the clink of coffee cups. Nathan paused, took a breath, squared his shoulders. "Ready?" I asked. "No." He smiled, sharp and brilliant, but that's never stopped me before. Then he pushed open the doors and walked into his boardroom like he owned it, which, after today, he definitely would. The boardroom fell silent as Nathan walked in. 20 pairs of eyes swiveled toward us, expressions shifting from polite boredom to absolute shock. Derek, mid-sentence at the head of the table, Nathan's place, went pale. "Gentlemen, ladies," Nathan's voice carried across the room as he made his way steadily to the front. "I apologize for keeping you waiting." "Nathan," Derek recovered first, plastering on a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We weren't expecting you, given your condition." "My condition is that I'm CEO of this company." Nathan reached the head of the table and remained standing, one hand on the cane, but spine straight. "A position that, last I checked, I still hold. So if you'd kindly vacate my chair, Derek, we can begin." Derek didn't move. "The board called this meeting to discuss—" "I know exactly what you called this meeting to discuss." Nathan pulled out the flash drive I'd retrieved and set it on the table with a sharp click. "Your attempted coup, the bribes, the embezzlement. Should I continue, or would you prefer to resign now and save us all some time?" "I don't know what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything." Nathan nodded to me. I moved to the presentation screen, inserting the drive into the system. "I'm stating facts. Fact 1, over the past 4 months, Derek Morrison has systematically embezzled $8 million from Veil Technologies through a shell company called Meridian Solutions." The first slide appeared, bank records, transfer authorizations, all with Derek's digital signature. Gasps rippled through the room. "Fact 2, Nathan continued, voice steady as steel. "This money was used to bribe 4 members of this board. Would you like me to name them, or would they prefer to identify themselves?" Silence. Then, from the far end of the table, Charles Whitman slowly raised his hand. "I returned the money last week," he said quietly, "when Nathan contacted me with the evidence." "As did I," added Patricia Zhao. 2 more hands rose, Derek's support crumbling in real time. "This is ridiculous," Derek sputtered. "Nathan, you're clearly not well. These paranoid delusions—" Fact 3. Nathan clicked to the next slide. Emails between Derek and Victoria Chen filled the screen. "You've been negotiating the sale of my company since the day of my accident." "Actually, no." He tilted his head. "Since 3 days before my accident. Interesting timing, wouldn't you say?" My blood ran cold. Surely he wasn't suggesting. "You were supposed to be on that trip," Derek said, too quickly. "You invited me." "I did. Then you canceled last minute. Urgent business in Singapore, you said." Nathan's smile was razor sharp, except there was no business in Singapore. "You were here, meeting with Chen Industries. The contracts are dated." "Nate." The nickname sounded desperate now. "Don't." Nathan's voice could have cut glass. "You were my friend. I trusted you with everything, and you waited for me to break so you could sell what I built to the highest bidder." Derek stood abruptly. "You want to talk about trust? You've been hiding your recovery, lying to everyone. How do we know this isn't another manipulation?" "You don't." Nathan set the cane aside and took 3 measured steps forward. No support, no wobble, pure determination. "But you know what the difference is between us, Derek? I hid my recovery because I was afraid of failing. You hid your betrayal because you knew you were wrong." The room held its breath. Nathan stood there, fierce and unbreaking, and I'd never been prouder of anyone in my life. "I motion for an immediate vote," announced board member Harrison Cross, Evelyn's husband, I realized. "All in favor of removing Derek Morrison from his position as COO and referring this matter to the authorities." Every hand shot up except Derek's. "All in favor of reaffirming Nathan Veil as CEO of Veil Technologies?" Again, unanimous except for Derek. "You can't do this," Derek hissed. "I have contracts." "Had," Nathan corrected. Past tense. "Security is waiting outside to escort you out. Your personal items will be sent to you after they've been searched for stolen company property. Derek's face cycled through emotions, rage, disbelief, something that might have been regret. You'll destroy the company without me. You can barely walk. Watch me. Nathan's voice was quiet, final. I built this company from nothing. I'll rebuild it from a wheelchair if I have to. But what I won't do is let you steal it while pretending to be my friend. Security entered at Harrison's nod. Derek looked around the room, finding no allies, no sympathy. His gaze landed on me. This is your doing, he snarled. Another gold digger who... Nathan moved faster than I'd have thought possible, positioning himself between Derek and me. Say another word about her, and criminal charges will be the least of your concerns. Derek left in silence, flanked by security. The boardroom exhaled collectively. Now, Nathan said, returning to his chair, walking the entire way. Let's discuss the actual future of this company. I have some ideas about our medical technology division that I think you'll find interesting. The meeting continued for another hour. Nathan fielded questions, outlined strategies, reminded everyone why he'd built an empire before 30. By the end, board members were leaning forward, engaged, excited. As they filed out, each stopped to shake Nathan's hand. Patricia Zhao squeezed my shoulder as she passed. Thank you, she whispered. When the room finally emptied, Nathan sank into his chair, exhaustion hitting visibly. I moved to his side. You did it, I said softly. We did it. He caught my hand. I couldn't have... He stopped, swallowed. Thank you. For what? For believing I could stand, even when I didn't. I squeezed his hand. That's what partners do. Partners? His thumb traced across my knuckles. Is that what we are? I don't know. I met his gaze. What do you want us to be? He tugged gently, pulling me closer until I was perched on the arm of his chair. I want, he said carefully, to take you to dinner. Somewhere that requires reservations and has too many forks. I want to walk in there beside you and pretend my leg doesn't hurt and eat overpriced food while you tell me about your day. He paused. I want to see who we could be when we're not fighting battles. That sounds terrifying, I admitted. Good terrifying or bad terrifying? I thought about Marcus, about safe choices and predictable futures, about how Nathan had looked standing up to Derek, fierce and uncompromising, about late nights and small victories and the way he said my name like it mattered. Good terrifying, I decided. His smile was different this time, softer, real. Friday night? I'll have to check with my boss. He's very demanding. I hear he's getting better about that. He is. I leaned down, pressed a kiss to his forehead. He's getting better about a lot of things. We sat there in the empty boardroom, surrounded by the wreckage of Derek's schemes and the promise of something new. Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, painting the city gold. It felt like a beginning. 6 months later, I woke to the sound of terrible singing coming from the kitchen. Nathan was attempting some pop song, completely off-key, punctuated by the clanging of pans. I smiled into my pillow before padding downstairs. He stood at the stove. Standing still felt like a small miracle, wearing pajama bottoms and one of my old hospital t-shirts. A cane rested against the counter, barely used these days except for longer distances. You're going to burn whatever that is, I observed, wrapping my arms around him from behind. It's an omelet, theoretically. He turned in my embrace. Happy anniversary. Of what? Our first date was 5 months ago. 6 months since you walked into my life and refused to let me wallow. He kissed me gently. I thought it deserved recognition. The omelet was indeed burned. We ate it anyway, sitting at the kitchen island where we'd shared so many late-night conversations. The mansion felt different now. Still impressive, but warmer. Lived in. Photographs lined the mantel. Plants thrived in sunny corners. It felt like a home. I have something for you, Nathan said, producing an envelope. Inside were architectural plans. What's this? Remember how you mentioned wanting to open a private rehabilitation practice? Specifically for people with spinal injuries who've been told they'll never improve? He pointed to the plans. That's the east wing. We never use it. I thought we could convert it. I stared at the detailed drawings, treatment rooms, therapy pools, state-of-the-art equipment. Nathan, this is practical. You have the expertise. I have the space and funding. Together, we could help people like me who just need someone to believe in them. He paused. Partners? You keep using that word, because I keep meaning it. He pulled out another envelope, smaller this time, which brings me to my next point. My heart stuttered. Nathan, I'm not proposing, he said quickly. Not yet. I know we both have baggage about rushed engagements and grand gestures, but I wanted you to know I'm thinking about it, planning for it, that this isn't just convenience or gratitude or proximity. I opened the envelope. Inside was a simple card with his handwriting. For when you're ready. For when we both are. For whenever feels right. And tucked behind it was a receipt for a ring he'd already bought, not flashy or enormous like the one Marcus had reclaimed. Simple, elegant, perfect. You already bought it? 3 weeks ago. Saw it and knew. He shrugged, endearingly nervous. It's in the safe upstairs, whenever you want it. Next month, next year, whenever. I just wanted you to know it's there, that I'm sure. I set the card down carefully. You know what I'm sure about? What's that? You, this life we're building. I took his hands. I don't need a ring to know that. But when you're ready to give it to me, when the moment feels right, my answer will be yes. His smile could have powered the city. Yeah? Yeah. He kissed me then, deep and sure, and I thought about how far we'd both come. From that first day when he'd tried to scare me away, to secret midnight therapy sessions, to taking down corporate conspiracies together, we'd rebuilt ourselves and each other stronger for having been broken. Sarah, he pulled back slightly, there's one more thing. If you bought a horse or something? No horses, but Derek's trial starts next week. The prosecutor wants us both to testify. I sobered. Derek had been arrested 2 days after the board meeting when a deeper investigation revealed the extent of his embezzlement. The Chen connection had made headlines. Apparently, we weren't the only company they'd tried to acquire through questionable means. Together, I asked. Together. The doorbell rang before I could respond. Nathan frowned. We're not expecting anyone. I went to answer it, finding a courier with an expensive-looking envelope. The return address made me freeze. Miller and Associates. What is it? Nathan appeared beside me, concern evident. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a wedding invitation. Marcus and Victoria Chen requesting the honor of our presence at their union. Nathan read over my shoulder, then burst out laughing. They're inviting you to their wedding? That's either incredibly cruel or incredibly clueless. Both, probably. I started to tear it up, then stopped. Actually, we should go. Sarah, no, you don't have to prove anything. I'm not proving anything. I'm showing them what they gave up. I turned to face him. Both of them. Derek lost your company because he underestimated you. Marcus lost me because he couldn't see past surface value. Let them see us now. Nathan studied me. You sure? I'm sure. Plus, I want to dance with you. Show off your recovered motor skills. My recovered motor skills, huh? He pulled me closer. We should practice then. Make sure I don't embarrass you. You could never embarrass me. We swayed there in the foyer, no music needed. Nathan's hand was steady on my back, his steps sure. No wheelchair, no cane, just us. For what it's worth, he murmured, Marcus Miller is an idiot. I know, and I'm grateful for his idiocy. Me too. We danced until the burned omelet smell drove us to open windows, spent the afternoon planning the rehabilitation center, called Evelyn to share the news, laughing when she pretended surprise about our relationship. Finally, was all she said. That evening, as we sat on the terrace watching the sunset, Nathan asked, "Any regrets?" I thought about it, about the life I'd planned with Marcus, safe and predictable, about the wedding that never happened, the future that had seemed so certain. No, I said honestly, That life would have been easier, maybe. But this one is ours. Ours, he agreed, threading his fingers through mine. 6 months ago, I'd arrived at this house broken and desperate, looking for escape. I'd found something better, someone who understood that healing wasn't about returning to who you were before. It was about becoming who you were meant to be. Nathan stood, pulling me up with him. Come on, let's go burn dinner together. Romantic. I try. We walked inside, his gait steady, my heart full. Behind us, the sunset painted the sky in shades of gold and pink, beautiful and fleeting and perfect, just like every new beginning should be. And that's it for this story, a tale of two broken people who found strength in each other and learned that sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places. If you enjoyed Sarah and Nathan's journey from heartbreak to healing, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional, romantic stories like this one. Your support means everything and helps us keep bringing you these heartfelt tales. Let me know in the comments what you thought of their transformation, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Until next time, keep believing in second chances and unexpected love. Thanks for listening.